Welcome back to the channel, guys. I really hope that you're enjoying the content so far. Today is a little bit different. I've got a collection of Jinn stories. They're very short, straight to the point, and I found these Jinn stories online on the internet. Most of them are from Reddit, and I've converted them into a voice format for you. And the first story is actually a story of a Jinn encounter that happened to me. So, without further ado, I'll get into it right now. Growing up, I lived in Forest Gate. Forest Gate is in East London, for those that don't know, and it's full of terraced houses. So the houses are very close to each other. They're quite Victorian, so they're not that big. Um, and growing up, when I was about 7 years old, my grandma used to live with us, and she was not that well at that time. And myself and my little sister used to take it in turns to sleep with her downstairs, just so we can raise any alarms if anything happened to her overnight. And just to give you a bit of a layout of the house, so as you walk in, you've got the sitting room on your right hand side. Straight ahead of you is the staircase. To the side of the staircase is a passageway that goes down, and the dining room is on your right, and straight ahead is the kitchen. So I used to stay in the dining room with my grandma, and the my sister and myself used to take it in turns to stay over throughout the night. And in the middle of the night, one night, I heard my mum and my auntie walking. It sounded like female voices, just chit chatting, talking away, and it sounded like it was coming from the kitchen. So I'd get up and I'd walk out, and I look to the right, and there's nobody in the kitchen, and the voices will stop. Then I'd close the door again, and then I'd go back into bed, and I can hear chit chatting again, just like in the background. So I'd get up again, and I'd go outside, and I'll have a look, and again, there's nothing there. So the next day, I remember I went to my mom and I was like, "Why do you guys keep talking in the night? Like, and why do you keep stop? Why do you stop talking when I walk out to have a look? And where are you guys and stuff?" And then she just started laughing. She thought, "Oh, it's probably nothing." And this was quite late at night, so nobody was awake. And so it happened a few nights in a row. And even my sister, they used to stay downstairs. She used to say that she used to hear the same thing as well. But it wasn't as frequent or as vivid. But she did say that she used to hear chit chat coming from the kitchen, and it was always like women talking. And just like it's like a crowd of women talking. So sometimes it would be like more than one person. And one night, my grandma used to snore. So every time she used to snore, I used to struggle to sleep. So I used to try to sleep as quick as I can, or in between her snoring. I used to try to get to sleep. One night, so she was snoring away, and I wasn't hearing any chit chat coming from the kitchen. So I was like, "That's good at least," and let me try to go to sleep. So I close my eyes, trying to get to sleep, but then I can hear breathing in the room. So I can hear my nan, she's snoring away, so I can hear her breathing. She's like, like proper snoring away. So I can hear her snoring, but then I can hear someone else breathing. But I was like, "Oh, that's weird." But bear in mind, I'm quite young at that time, so I can hear someone else breathing, and I'm thinking, is that even me? That might be me breathing. So let me hold my breath. So I hold my breath. So I can't breathe right now. I'm not breathing. I know it's not me. I know it's not my nan because I can hear her snoring. So I know when she's breathing. But then I can hear someone else breathing right next to my ear like this. And it's giving me chills now thinking about it. But I remember at the time I wasn't that scared. Maybe I didn't comprehend what was happening because I was quite young. But there was definitely someone else breathing in that room. And it wasn't my nan 100% because she's snoring, so I can hear her snoring. And I was holding my breath, but there was someone else breathing in that room. Many people that have lived in that house had encounters in that room specifically. And yeah, that's my story. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it.
At some point in my early teenage years, 13-ish, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and see a black figure standing at the foot of my bed. Somehow, I knew it was a woman, even though I'd never seen her face. She would appear about once every couple of months. The first few times, it petrified me. I'd sit up most of the night staring at her. Eventually, I got used to her. Depending on how tried I was, I'd either go back to bed, tell her to go away, or try to speak to her. She would never respond. Occasionally, she would appear standing over me in bed, which was the most scariest thing. Later, a friend of mine who is a qualified psychologist told me that there are various stress-related illness that can manifest themselves like this. My childhood was very stress for different reason, so I assumed this was it. The last 2 times I saw her was when I was about 25 yo, and again, 7 years later, on my honeymoon, when my wife woke me up petrified that there was a woman in black standing at the foot of our bed. I stared at the woman in black, then at my wife. I was shocked my wife could see her. I got up to turn the light on, and she was gone. I didn't want to scare my wife, so I just told her that I didn't see anything. I've never told my wife this story because it would just scare her, and I don't think I ever will. I do ask her from time to time if she ever saw her again, and she hasn't. She tells this as one of her Jinn stories, and I just sit there and listen, with a smile on my face. But deep down, I hope that women in black never come back again. Having listened to multiple independent first-hand witnesses of severe possession and realizing that their descriptions match the ones in books or internet, I started informing myself on the matter. One day, a random Christian girl messages me on Reddit, asking for help. She found me from my comments. She has summoned an incubus, lover Jinn, when she was really young, and after 3 years, the Jinn starts intimately visiting her in her sleep. Slowly, her life gets ruined. She loses her focus on daily matters. She fails all her classes and drops out because she cannot comprehend anything as she is being haunted. On top of the night encounters, she starts hearing voices during the day, which is unusual for a Jinn possession. I tell her all I know and suggest her to have ruqya done on her. While she tries to find an excuse to present her Catholic family for the ruqya, I track her progress. Months pass, she does ruqya. The Raqi says that it is indeed a lover Jinn. Some time passes again, and one day she tells me that the voices in her head tell her that they are astral travelers, and that I am one of them. She asks if this is normal. I say I have to do more research before giving an answer. From that day on, she has not been online ever. I am worried for her. God knows what happened. So it's what happened to me last winter. I normally stay at my grandpa's place most of the time, and it's just me, 3 aunts, and my grandparents. My cousins come there occasionally too. They live in a society which is pretty green, like loads of trees. The ecosystem is great and stuff. There's a really cool park just 10 mins of walking distance away from the place, and I usually went there at night because, as I said, the ecosystem is pretty good, so you see very rare birds and baby birds such as killdeers, cuckoos and stuff at night. So long story short, one day, me and a friend, who's my neighbour here, we decided to walk and explore the society at night and take the long way to the park because we deliberately wanted something paranormal to happen. We were walking on the sidewalk alongside the main roads at night. It was about 1 a.m. and there was a bit of fog as well, early winters. He said the same thing to me that is posted in this meme, to not walk underneath trees, but me being dumb though, it was just one of those made-up myths aunties tell you to stop playing, so I kept walking under trees throughout the way. I had watched this video the same week by a channel called The Merciful Servant, where they taught you about all the types of jinns that existed, and those of you who don't know this, they have specific names and types. We reached this pretty old tree that was dead and dry in the middle of nowhere. IDK, why I did this, but I joked with my friend saying a particular jinn, said his name, lives here. And then I went forward and said it out loud that, you live here, right? I want your place now, and kid you not, the exact same moment, the most horrific growl came from above the tree, like right over our heads. That growl is still etched in my ears. It was just like an angry grizzly bear's, to give you an example, and it was so loud, that my ears got blocked and started to ring. We started to run instantly, started reciting Ayatul Kursi, and just kept running as fast as we could till we reached his place. It felt like a movie, and it was hard to fathom what just happened. And this is not all. We ended up going to his place, since it was closer than my grandpa's by a few houses, and only his mum was home, so nobody was awake. As soon as we entered the house, we entered it through a back door, as we sort of sneaked out, as we weren't allowed to go out this late at all. The house had two portions. His mum was asleep on the upper floor. We entered, and only a few small, yellowish lights were on in the dining room, and everything else was pitch black. The moment we entered, and slowly were walking to his room, that was on the right side, we heard heavy breathing coming out of the room that was on the left, about 10 feet away, as if someone huge was breathing really loud, so we sprinted to his room and locked it. Then what happened next was that the entire night he felt like someone was calling my name from the outside. And I heard someone calling his name from the outside, and there was no one else in the house at all, except for his mum, who was sleeping. And if it was her, she would have just opened the door herself. We literally heard someone moving things outside the room and walking when there was nobody there and not his mum, as she was asleep. In the morning, I went over to my own place, and my friend told me that when he slept, he woke up feeling like there was someone sitting on his chest, and he could not breathe. He said only until he managed to painfully recite Ayatul Kursi and some other surahs. That thing, or feeling, went away. Thankfully, it did not happen to me, probably because I recite many surahs normally before going to sleep every night, such as the last verses of Al-Baqarah, Surah Mulk, etc. And he told he didn't even, though he's older, he also hardly prayed. So, never walk under trees and do not challenge jinns, because they are as real as the day, and this is not my only experience. That society or whatever is probably built upon old pagan graveyards, my uncle told me. And I hope he is joking, to be honest.